Hey everyone, it's Julie from Sprouts and Stems. Today I'll be doing a repot with me video and I'll be repotting 3 little pink Syngoniums and I'll be repotting those all into one big pot with a moss pole. So let's get started. I always water my plants a day or two before I repot them, and that basically just helps to reduce the shock to the roots of being repotted and will help them adjust better. And I also moisten the potting mix that I'm going to use to be repotting my plants. So basically, they're going to be potted in watered potting mix, I guess you could say. You don't want it to be sopping wet, but it should be lightly moist. And then I actually don't water immediately after repotting since they're already in moist potting mix. I basically just wait until the plants need to be watered again. So now I'm just creating my own aeroid potting mix, and you can totally buy something like this from the store. I just happen to have all these different ingredients on hand. So it's got a little bit of regular houseplant potting mix, perlite, peat moss, orchid bark, sphagnum moss, and charcoal. And basically what you should get is a nice, light, airy mix that will still retain moisture but not keep your plant sopping wet. I also wanted to include a quick note about peat moss. I don't recommend buying peat moss because it's not sustainable. I've had this bag for a while, so I'm just trying to use it all up at this point. A good alternative to peat moss is coconut coir, or you could just skip the peat moss altogether. It's these ingredients, having all of these ingredients in your potting mix is not 100% necessary. Alright, and now you can see here by the roots coming out of the grow pot, I've got 3 little plants that are definitely ready for a bigger home. So I'm going to fill this terracotta pot with my moistened aeroid potting mix, and this pot does have a drainage hole. That's very important, and I believe the size of this pot was 8.25 inches. And I'm also adding in this moss pole to the back, but later you'll see that I changed my mind and put it in the middle of the pot. I just thought it made more sense there with the 3 plants growing around it. This is a stackable moss pole, so I'll be able to add more as my plants outgrow it. As these Syngoniums get bigger, they'll use their aerial roots to grow up the pole, which is what they would do in the wild, so that'll help them grow larger and healthier. I've now got my pot filled up with potting mix to a level where I can add my plants. So I'll remove the plants from their grow pots and position them evenly spaced around the moss pole. And as you remove the plants from their grow pots, you're just going to want to support the top of the plant and gently squeeze and tap the bottom of your plant and just kind of massage it a little bit until your plant comes out. And you may have to work at it a little bit, but just try to be as gentle as possible. Oh, and I also wanted to just note that once you get the plants out of their grow pots, you don't need to completely and totally break up the root ball. You actually don't want to disturb the roots too much. So what I do is I just kind of get rid of some of the excess soil, and I just slightly kind of, again, massage the roots at the bottom, almost just kind of like tickle them, if you will. You don't want to like harshly break up all the roots. Alright, so now that I've got all 3 of my plants positioned where I want them around the moss pole, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the remaining empty space in the pot with potting mix. So you're going to do that, and then you don't necessarily need to like push down and really compress the potting mix. Push it down lightly, make sure it's packed in there, but not too much. And you'll also see that I'm going to take a chopstick and just gently remove some of the soil that fell in between the stems of the plants. And that's it. So now you'll just want to put the plant back into its appropriate light level and just leave it for a little. It's just been really jostled around and is going to be in some shock, so just give it some time to adjust. Eventually it'll start to fill out this bigger home and it'll look amazing, and I'm just really excited for having a nice big pink Syngonium. It's going to be beautiful. And I mentioned this at the beginning, but just a reminder that I'm not going to be watering this right away since it was potted into moist potting mix and it was just watered like a day or 2 ago. So I'll just wait a few days or just until the next time that this plant needs to be watered. I hope you enjoyed this repot with me session as I repotted my pretty pink Syngoniums. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Please like, subscribe, and check out the description for the link to the blog post format of this video. It has some more detail and links to all the supplies I mentioned today. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and have a great day.